Good evening, this is Jack from Charting the Markets, and this is the Bigger Picture webinar for the evening of Wednesday, the 2nd of July. My disclaimer, I do this for educational purposes only. I'm here to share my technical analysis with you. I hope you can take some of what I'm doing, learn from it, transfer it to your own charts. I'm not here to issue trading signals. Right, I've needed to get out some emails before I go put up the paywall here, and obviously I've been rather slow in doing it, but I'm most of the way there, and I should finish doing that tomorrow or on Friday. So what I'm doing is I'm delaying the start of the paywall until Wednesday, the 9th of July. So this one and Sunday will be outside the paywall and delivered to everyone as usual, and then the one next Wednesday will be the first one behind the paywall. All right, great. In that case, let's have a look at the markets. Okay, we had another bullish day today. So far, so good on the upside. I've still got some worryingly convincing looking potential ending diagonals here, but we are pushing up through. As I've been mentioning on the pre-market videos as well, obviously we've got quite mainly pretty much bullish days for the next 3 weeks. And actually, we've only got two bearish days, bearish leading days so far. This month, which are Monday the 21st of July, and we have another one on Tuesday the 29th of July. Basically, apart from that, it's all ball for a month. So this is, if we are going to see a decent breakup, then this is a good opportunity. The one shadow on the horizon is that we've got, and it's not necessarily that serious, is that the end of the 90-day pause after, or 3-month pause in effect after early April, and the tariffs actually is due to end in a week on July the 9th. Now, I had been hearing from Scott Bessent, who was sort of talking about sorting out stuff by Labor Day, but more recently from Trump, we've been hearing he's not planning to put that back, and he's planning to just, if deals aren't made and deals aren't in progress, then he's just planning to inform countries of the terms in which they will be doing business with the US in the future. Now, that's not necessarily a major market mover. It does look as though the biggest players, certainly the biggest player, is the European Union, and they're probably not going to put general tariffs on US goods, because of course they don't want to, in a position where things are in any case economically uncertain, put a large extra tax on their own citizens, because in effect that's what it means when you do put tariffs on. So I don't think they would do that. There would be a lot of targeted tariffs, and they'd be planning to widen down a lot of trade with the US, for sure. And I think much the same with the others. I mean, obviously there's military, obviously less so in Europe, but in terms of Japan and South Korea, obviously they're fairly solidly under the American nuclear umbrella and in need of help, so they're probably going to avoid offending the US too much. But certainly, we'll see. I mean, there had been scheduled talks with Japan yesterday, which were cancelled because the Japanese said that come back when you have some kind of plan. They said there was very hard to know what the American negotiators even wanted. They weren't sure the American negotiators knew what they wanted. So really, they didn't think the negotiations were going anywhere. There's no real current negotiations with the EU, as far as I can tell. In fact, really, the only deal that's really been announced is the small one with Britain, which was actually more of a plan to have a deal at some point, rather, a skeleton, rather than an actual deal. So anyway, we will see. That is a potential cloud on the horizon. Apart from that, we are getting increasing amounts of negative divergence. This could deliver a retracement. If so, when? Good question. But I'll show you on the RTH charts because it's clearer there. Anyway, on ES, we've got a weak 6-minute sell signal fixed. We had one on NQ as well, but obviously that's made target and it's almost got back to the high. On RTY, 60-minute sell signal, last two made target. This one has fixed and is still going up at the moment. But we've got more of these brewing, hourly sell signals brewing on the RTH charts. Okay, YM, we've got a 60-minute sell signal fixed. On DAX, we've actually got a 60-minute buy signal fixed. And ESTX, we had a sell signal, made target, and no current signal. The main patterns here I'm watching are the IHS patterns on DAX and ESTX, both of which have broken up, and both of which could fail if we actually retrace directly from here. But at the moment, DAX and ESTX are in danger of both losing the monthly pivots, and we will see how that develops. So we shall see. All right, great. Let's have a look at the bigger picture charts. Okay, SPX. SPX, as you can see, looking back into the April 6th low, I think it was, but really, this is a very, very nice looking rising wedge. It really is nice. And at the moment, we have not broken up beyond it. While we haven't done that, obviously we need to consider the possibility that we may be heading back to support down here, which would be a drop of slightly more than 100 points. And if this breaks down, that we may deliver some kind of retracement. Now, I'm not seeing anything on the daily chart here, and we did have some sell signals which were fixed on ES, SPX, and on QQQ, and all of those failed. But I'm a little concerned about the negative divergence on the hourly charts. We've got a very nice looking RSI 14 sell signal brewing on SPX, and on the Qs we've got a very nice RSI 14 sell signal already fixed. On Dia we've got a very nice RSI 14 sell signal brewing, and we've got a weaker 60-minute sell signal on the RSI 14 brewing also on IWM. In terms of the wedges, the Qs one, again, looks very nice, like SPX, and I do tend to see both of those as the leaders, so we'll see. Dia has actually made it almost back up to the all-time high. We've already made new all-time highs on SPX and on the Qs, and Dia is very close to doing that too. It's made it up as high as 445.97. And all it needs to do is get up one more handle and a small amount of change, and we've got a new all-time high here too. Looking at IWM. All right, IWM, we've got. Hang on a second. Right, IWM. Looking at the daily chart, we've got no divergence here, but the main thing I'm watching here is obviously the IHS, which has broken up with the target to retest the all-time high. Now, we will likely have got that on SPX soon. On SPX we've got it already. Qs we've got it already. Dia, I'm expecting to see it soon. Question is whether we're going to get it on IWM. And I really like this pattern. It's a nice looking setup, but obviously any pattern can fail. Looking at the hourly chart, you can see we've got a bit of negative divergence here. Although if we go up tomorrow, we'll lose it. If we go up in any kind of sustained manner tomorrow. In terms of wedges, this could be a bearish overthrow. But I've got an alternative trend line, which frankly would be a better one, which is all the way up here at 227.50. And that's the kind of pattern where within it, or within maybe an expanded version of it, we could actually go and make a new all-time high. So that's what I'm watching. This would be the ideal trend line here, but this one here is not awful, and could be a contender. I am wondering about the hourly negative divergence. It is a potential sign that we could be about to do a serious retracement. I would prefer not to see that because I would like to see more tracks to the upside while we've got this nice bullish opportunity. All right, DAX. DAX is backtesting the daily middle band at the moment. Haven't made a new all-time high yet. But obviously this has been outperforming the US indices all year until the last month or so, and so maybe the US is just catching up a bit. On Nikkei, I was calling this as a likely bull flag, and it has broken up and is heading towards the target, which is a retest of 42.4K. I'm liking that target. So might see some retracement first, but I'm liking that target afterwards. Okay, let's have a look at let's have a look at DX. Okay, DX, we made it down to 96 on here, but only about 96.34 on the USD index chart. So let's have a look at that. Looking at that, bear with me. All right, looking at that, we made it down to 96.38. Now this means we didn't quite make it, almost made it. This is a kind of an arguable head. but we could have made it just about to megaphone support, but really I think it might be a little short. If you look at the trend lines here, and this isn't a busy trend line, so hang on a second. I'll just show you what I'm seeing here, because I have to say I'm not an enthusiast for rough trend lines. If you've been watching me work for a while, you'll know that. I'm a real enthusiast for exact trend lines, because otherwise, if they're not exact, it's too easy to see. There it is. All right, it's too easy to see something that isn't there. But as you can see, as I've drawn this and made it a thin line, you can see that is an exact touch. All right, in which case we've tested megaphone support and we have held it. What does this mean? Well, if we see a breakdown, this puts us in a topping process overall. But while we are holding the megaphone support, then there is an argument. Well, there's a pretty good argument for finding support there. If we do find support there, then we test the current flag resistance, which I've got at about the 108.5 area, I think. And if we see a break up, then we should see a retest of 114.75. If we were to continue up from there, given that we'll have, wedge resistance, megaphone resistance, megaphone support, megaphone resistance, megaphone support. If this holds, and at the moment it is holding, then we could potentially head up and head up to the 120 area. Am I seeing any particularly obvious reasons to think that that would happen? No, I'm not. But that doesn't mean it isn't going to happen. And the US dollar does have a tendency historically to wander off and do what it wants. So, I mean, having said that, you get lovely patterns, but we've got lovely patterns here. We've got a lovely bull flag. We've got a beautiful megaphone. After we made this megaphone resistance, I picked it up, and within a couple of weeks, I'd called the target down here at the megaphone support, and here we are. So to that extent, the US dollar patterns really well and is predictable. But in terms of which direction it's going to go, well, you get to an inflection point, and then price has to make a decision, and then off you go. We will see what the decision is here, but that is an exact touch of megaphone support to a very high degree of precision. So we will see whether that holds. Is it going to hold? Now, let's have a look. Obviously, the bull flag setup, I was talking about it in the post last week, but the bull flag setup is an inherently bullish setup. It will tend to break up about 70% of the time, and we tend to see a retest of the high, in this case, at 114.78, I think. So that is the natural lean. Is the Trump administration doing a number of things which could work against the dollar? Yes. Does that necessarily matter? Well, I don't know. This comes back to something I've said quite a few times before, which is that actually it all looks terribly solid, but actually much of the economy is just faith-based, and markets are mainly faith-based as well. I remember someone saying to me, it must be 10 or 15 years ago, on a blog somewhere, that the thing about gold was that it was only worth what someone would pay for it. And I said, I said to him, he was come really close to a very key insight, but just missed it at the last minute. And that key insight is that does apply to gold, but it also applies to everything else. Everything is only worth what someone will be prepared to pay for it. And what they're paying for it with is only worth what someone is prepared to pay something else for it. It's everything is faith-based. Now, yes, the administration is doing things which could reduce the amount of faith in the US currency, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to do that. Equally, no one's imposed serious tariffs on this kind of scale for years. We don't know what the short-term effect is going to be. Is there a possibility it might boost the currency? I don't know, but what I do know is that this kind of bull flag setup, particularly if we hit and hold the obvious pattern support trend line, leans bullish. So I'm giving it the benefit of the doubt until we see that. If we see a breakdown below this trend line, then this is likely bottoming out. Likely topping out. And while we might still go back and retest 114.78, at that stage I'd be looking for a topping pattern, and this megaphone would be broken. But at the moment, megaphone's holding, and as long as that holds, potentially this megaphone resistance up in the 122 area is a potential target, even if that seems extremely improbable. Okay, let's have a look at the weekly chart where we've got a possible RSI 5 buy signal brewing. We haven't closed the week, but we could have a possible week RSI 14 buy signal brewing as well. Looking at the daily chart, we've now got a possible RSI 5 buy signal brewing. That's a lot of positive divergence, and actually it's pretty encouraging if we are going to see a reversal back up here, which we could. Could this be an IHS here? Yeah, it's starting to look more like a potential inverted head and shoulders, but it could be a pretty nice looking IHS, which if it formed and then played out could get us back into the 106.5, 107 area, which would take us pretty close to overall bear flag resistance, which is here. And about just under 109 at the moment. All right, so we'll see how that goes. Do we have obviously I was showing some of the supporting setups last week. This looks like a bear flag, and this could be a bearish overthrow. So waiting to see if that happens. Obviously, it doesn't have to go that way, but this is a pretty clear bear flag. That would be a bearish overthrow, and the next obvious target would be a retest of the low. This is the mirror image of what we're seeing on the dollar and what you would expect to see if they basically have the same pattern setup. If we have a look at, except obviously that we've got an overall wedge here, and that wedge has already broken up. All right, looking at GBP. We've got almost exactly the same setup as we've got on the euro. So could this be a bearish overthrow? Could this be a bear flag? That's what it looks like. And this may be setting up again a retest of this low. That's what I'm seeing here. I think on the bigger picture, I would be looking for GBP to bottom out here, euro to bottom out here, dollar to top out here. But I'm just saying we could go up 20% from here. In that process, and that would be pretty normal. So we shall see. All right, great. Let's have a look at bonds. Now, bonds, we broke slightly below the rising support today. This looks like an overall bear flag wedge, which is trying to break down. But if it's going to be that, we're really going to have to see a break below the monthly pivot at 114.06. That needs to break and convert to resistance, and that opens the downside. Looking at ZN, not an obvious pattern here, at least no particularly obvious resistance trend line. We'll see how this develops. This could be a little level top, which is breaking down. Week 6-minute sell signals already reached the possible near miss target. Okay, looking at those on the bigger picture, we've got on TNX, we've got this really nice looking little falling wedge. This isn't close to breaking up at the moment, but this is an encouraging move in the right direction. We haven't got any divergence on the daily. I am wrong. We do. And that is an RSI 5 buy signal that is fixed. Sorry, I'm going to mark that in. I hadn't actually noticed that earlier when I was reviewing this chart, but actually that is a buy signal. Okay, that's even more encouraging for a turn up on yields here and a turn down on bonds. So, RSI, hang on, signal is fixed. All right. So that is encouraging. Okay, so that is backing up what I'm seeing here and what I posted as the chart of the day yesterday, which is that this looks like a falling wedge, and the obvious target would be a breakup and very possibly a retest of this high here at 46.29. We've now got a buy signal on the daily chart. This is looking very encouraging. I'm expecting really to see on ZB a retest of the lows. That is what we're expecting to see, and ZN may well do that as well. TLT, nice looking rising wedge here. This is the mirror image, effectively distorted, but nonetheless a mirror image of what we're seeing on TNX. This is bearish for bonds, bullish for bond yields, and we still need to see a break and conversion of the monthly pivot to open the downside. We will see, but this could well be topping out here, and this could be followed through fairly shortly. We could also be forming head and shoulders here. We'll see how that looks tomorrow morning. Okay, let's have a look at CL. CL, this is looking a little less like a flag, but nonetheless, it's a potential flag. Actually, do I have? No, not yet. This is partially looking less like a flag, just because, not so much because of this, because of what I'm seeing on heating oil and gas oil. But this could still be a bear flag. Certainly, this looks like a bearish consolidation of some kind. Looking at HO. We had a sell signal here that failed, and we spiked up here, and this is making this not look like a bear flag anymore. We will see. So we've actually done a 50% retracement here, which we've not even come close to on CL. On gas oil, it's not particularly clear what's happening here. We don't have an obvious IHS. It's just sort of retracing somewhat. But this is retraced a little more or similar to what CL has done. Heating oil has actually managed considerably more. Are these all basically likely to be setting up a low retest of the recent lows? Yes, I think they are. All right, NG. NG, we've got this big megaphone which broke down and had a target at a retest of this low here, and obviously we saw that retest. Since this little high here, we've got a falling wedge that's formed and is now breaking up. Waiting to see what that delivers, but I'm thinking there is a potential double bottom here. I'm not really expecting to see this head back up and retest this high, but there is a potential setup for that here. And if we see a breaking conversion of the monthly pivot to support, then that really opens the upside here. Not really seeing much of a case for that happening, but nonetheless, it could happen. Let's have a look at those on the bigger picture charts. Okay, WTIC. WTIC, I think this is a consolidation before this likely heads down and possibly test this support here, although we've already broken that resistance trend line. Mainly in the short term, I'm watching the fact that we are back testing the daily middle band, and so far that is holding. Looking at heating oil, we are back over the daily middle band. In fact, it never really broke convincingly to start off with. We've done about a 50% retracement. Keeping an open mind, not really seeing a lot of indication as to which way this is likely to go. Gas oil hasn't got back up to retest the daily middle band yet. Obviously, this has been a weaker like oil, and I'm inclined to take the two views on gas oil and on gasoline and WTIC and take those and give those the majority view. I think those are both below the daily middle band. These are both looking like bearish consolidations. Chances are that's what we're looking at across the board. All right, natural gas, no current divergence. We did break this rising support. Keeping an open mind, but we've got a little falling wedge breaking up here. We've got a larger rising wedge which has broken down. I'm thinking that if we did see a retest this high here, it would be about the right size to be the second high of a double top. I am wondering if we might see that. We shall see. All right, let's have a look at GC. GC, we've got a breakup from this little falling megaphone here. Obviously, on the bigger picture, we've got a bull flag. It's broken up. We've got a target back up at a retest of the all-time high, and it's not doing that mainly because equities is on a run higher. And while it's on a run higher, it's a bit difficult for anyone to get worried enough for GC to retest the all-time high. We'll see how that develops. We're in a sideways consolidation. That can last a while. SI, we've got this very nice looking rising support trend line here. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 touches here. It doesn't look quite perfect because this moves slightly. So I'll fix that tomorrow morning. But this is actually a really nice looking support trend line. And since it was made, it's been holding. I don't think this double top's going to play out, but if it does, then that's going to be a bit worrying given some of the other things I'm looking at here, which are a potentially very nice looking double top on palladium, and a potentially very nice little double top on platinum as well. We haven't got the negative divergence here, but I am wondering whether we might see some retests for lows. We shall see. All right, let's have a look at those on the bigger picture charts. And let's have a look at copper first, actually. Copper, we've got a potential overall double top here. We've got a potential something forming here, might be a little double top. And I am wondering about reversal here. We will see. And looking at the bigger picture charts, looking at gold first, no current divergence. Looks like a bull flag that's already broken up. We could be forming a larger flag, and I'd certainly like to see gold get back over the daily middle band, which it's struggling at the moment. On silver, I've got a nice target back up here in about the 39 to 39.5 area. I think this is a bullish consolidation before we go there. We are holding above the daily middle band here. Looking at palladium, we've got a possible. Has it made it? No, it didn't quite make it high enough. It has on the futures. Probably show up tomorrow. I think we might have an RSI 14 sell signal brewing here on the daily. On platinum, we've definitely got one. And in fact, we've got weak RSI 14 5 sell signal and full RSI 14 sell signal have already fixed. This could be a double top. Could this be saying that we're going to see some weakness on precious metals over the next few days? I wouldn't be astonished. The strongest looking one is silver. But even that has we've got a number of potential patterns here. We could see a move down, and this is something I was wondering about. I was wondering whether we might actually form a larger flag here, because a flag can evolve into a larger flag. And if we did, that potentially could take us down into maybe the 30-50 area to make the lower trend line. We'll see. All right, looking at copper. Copper, no divergence on the daily. It's got up to a stage where I'm starting to wonder about a retest of this high here at 5.346. But short term, I am wondering whether we might see some retracement here. But if we don't, we're already we've already made it up to 515. It's not a huge leap to get up to retest this high, and if we saw that, I'd be leaning towards that being the second high of a double top. Looking at GDX, not a lot to say on GDX really. This is starting to look more like a bull flag rather than a double top. But if we were to see some weakness and break down and see the 47.5 area, that wouldn't be astonishing. Looking at the GDXJ chart, again, this could be a double top. Almost made target already, but there's not really an awful lot to see on either of these. All right, let's have a look at the other commodities. Okay, KC, we haven't got an obvious support trend line here. That doesn't mean that one can't develop, and I can show you a good example of one that has developed on sugar, but I'm really not seeing an obvious candidate here, and there'd normally be at least some promising prospects. It could be that we're breaking down from this megaphone. They're going to say we have got obviously this coffee was trading at a level which was considerably higher than where it's normally been historically trading. If it's breaking down into that, that's not altogether surprising. We do have a pretty decent looking falling wedge share in the short term, and I'm wondering if that might break up. All right, we've got a 6-minute buy signal fixed here. Got to say that fixed a few days ago, and so far it's delivered absolutely nothing. On sugar, this has broken down through. I was saying this wasn't really looking like an underthrow at the moment, but we've come down and we've established a really nice new trend line here. So this is the revised falling megaphone on sugar. This is a decent looking double bottom. This is a possible 60-minute buy signal brewing. I think this may well be about to turn up, and this pattern would get us most of the way back up to the back test of the monthly pivot at 1662 really, and the resistance trend line just above. Okay, looking at CC, my lean is this will probably break lower, but we've got a possible weak 6-minute buy signal brewing here. Maybe we're about to see a bounce, potential little double bottom. We will see. Bigger picture, I'm not seeing really a lot to say that this isn't going to go down. Okay, CT, we're trying to break up here. We do have a little head and shoulders forming here. It's been up forming for a couple of days. If this breaks down, this would take us back into a retest of the lows. I'd quite like to see it continue higher. But we'll see. Lumber, this is a pretty nice looking bear flag megaphone, and it's got an inbuilt little level top here. If we see a breakdown below 600, I'd really be looking for a retest of this low here in about the 565 area. Looking at wheat, we had this as a level bottom. It broke up and it suddenly made target and went considerably beyond.
And it wasn't alone. We also had a very good day on corn, which broke up from this double bottom here. I've marked in targets, and on soy, which broke up from a double bottom. And I've marked in the target up here at about the 106.4 area. These all did very, very well today, so this was an excellent day for grains. We'll have a look at those on the RTH charts in a minute. Looking at soybean oil, we had an IHS, and that made target too. Live cattle, possible IHS forming. Lean hogs, trying to break down from a head and shoulders here with a target in about the 103 area, and at the moment not showing much enthusiasm about going there. All right, let's have a look at the bigger picture charts. Okay, coffee obviously is pretty high by conventional standards. Normally, the top of the trading range was at 2.6. I wouldn't be surprised to be getting back there. So we'll see how that develops, but it may well be that that's where this is going. In the short term, we do have a possible RSI 5 buy signal growing. But this is, as we go lower, this is looking less like the potential bull flag that this was looking like. Okay, looking at sugar. Sugar, obviously, we've got this rather apocalyptic looking head and shoulders with a target down here. Alternate targets in the 6.5, which is the extended target, or the basic target down here at 905. I'd be looking for one or the other, and at the moment we've been making worrying progress towards that. On the weekly chart, no current divergence. Rather nicer looking falling wedge here, but this is obviously a much larger pattern. It's taken a couple of years to form than the one I was just showing you on the hourly chart. But that is showing definitely some potential for support, and we've got weak RSI 14 and weak RSI 5 buy signals which fixed on here today, and we've seen nothing definitive, but nice little move up today. We will see if that develops into more tomorrow. We shall see. All right, looking at cocoa. Cocoa, we've got obviously again we are well above historical norms. Top of this range here was 3826, and we basically tripled that. Got up to 12,903. If this is falling back into its more normal range, that wouldn't surprise me. And I think at the moment, I'm not seeing much reason to think that it wouldn't. No current divergence here. Looking at this, I'm leaning towards continuation down. Looking at wheat. Wheat on the daily chart, nice little move up here today, basically gapped over the daily middle band and held it. This could be the start of something decent on the upside. Corn, nice move, hasn't broken up over the daily middle band yet. Soybeans, we've got a weak RSI 5 buy signal, but it actually it fixed and reached the possible near miss target on the same day today. Again, we're testing the daily middle band here. We haven't broken back above it, but if it can, this can do some serious damage to the upside, I think. On cotton, we actually made it back down to this support trend line here, which is not what I was hoping to see. I'd quite like to see this go higher. We will see whether it manages it. But certainly we're back at the support trend line that I would be watching, and this would be a natural area to look for support. We've got a weak RSI 14 buy signal fix, but obviously that hasn't delivered anything so far. Nothing on the RSI 5. Looking at lumber, this still looks like a long, slow bear flag forming. And in the short term, this looks like a little level top, and it may well break down from there. We shall see. All right, great. In that case, that's a wrap. I'll catch everyone again on Sunday, and everyone take care.